Yo, is it possible to learn linear algebra, one of the hardest math classes that you can take in college, from scratch using nothing but AI? I wanted to find out. No textbooks, no professors, no lectures, just one really long ChatGPT thread. And here's the most ambitious part. I want to learn all of this in only 30 days, just doing 1 hour of work per day, no homework. This is my ideal environment for a real grown-up adult with a life who can't just set everything aside to learn linear algebra. So why linear algebra? Well, first let me tell you a little bit about myself. Oh, hi there. I'm Ernest Wolf, and for 15 years I've been working in education. I'm an educational entrepreneur based out of Los Angeles, and you see 15 years ago I actually dropped out of college and started this tutoring business, which has been very successful since then, focusing mostly on academic and executive function coaching, and now I'm trying to be a YouTuber, I guess. But here's the thing, I didn't actually learn all the stuff I wanted to learn when I was in college. I help kids get into college now, but never finished it myself. And somewhere on my bucket list is learning linear algebra. It didn't really make sense though. Am I really going to spend thousands of dollars and sign up for a community college course and spend the beautiful summer days in LA doing that? I didn't think so. Was I ever going to just sign up for Coursera and sit through dozens of hours of lectures or watch YouTube videos ad nauseum? No, that didn't appeal to me. So what I did instead is I set up a challenge. A challenge, you say? What be the rules? I can't get too weird in the first video. I wanted a challenge. I wanted to try something nobody that I'd ever heard of had done before, which is to learn linear algebra using nothing, literally nothing except for AI. I thought this is probably possible. I think the technology is at this point. And with ChatGPT deep research, I found they're actually very effective at building a curriculum for you. So here were the rules of this challenge. 1 hour per day, no homework, 30-day maximum, and only ChatGPT. And at the end, I'm going to venture away from AI to the MIT final exam, which I realize is actually publicly available online for me to take at the end of these 30 days. And actually, what I realized was the 30-day curriculum that ChatGPT had designed for me, I was able to get through it in only 21 days, meaning I spent the final 9 days watching videos by 3Blue1Brown, cross-checking with other AIs like Perplexity, Claude, and Grok, and doing some final prep before I took this MIT exam because I assumed there must be some things that I missed. The one other thing that I did is I built a small Chrome extension for myself using AI. See, I also do some coding and software. It's Farkas too. Farkas started it.
It's not supposed to be outside.
I thought this was such a good idea. I should probably share it with people. And so I said, I'm also going to live stream this. I sort of think a lot about this meme actually. Well, it's about just doing things. And ultimately, I could either be the idiot on the left or the genius on the right. But the right answer was to just do things and stop making excuses. So I went that day, started my live streaming, and started this journey. Get inside. No, pass it. There's something amazing when you're learning something. It's actually, learning science supports this, that if you create a challenge for yourself, if you make things interesting and make yourself want to show up every day so that it's not boring, you're going to learn a lot better. This was by far the least boring way I could think of learning linear algebra. Believe me though, it was not all smooth sailing. There were some struggles along the way. The struggles were real for a lot of this, honestly. And as for the learning side of things, that wasn't smooth sailing either.
Don't say smooth sailing again, you said it before.
Smooth sailing. That sure wasn't smooth sailing. I asked ChatGPT how to get this whole live stream going because I had none of the software, no idea how it all worked. And so what I did is I downloaded OBS, I got this platform called Restream, I followed all their steps, and I thought that I had it perfect. I was really excited about my first stream. And then I saw my first ever YouTube comment come in. I can't hear you. And I realized that my audio was not connected from about, I think, 14 minutes into it for the final hour of the stream. So that was not the best. And on the learning side of things, I had no idea how linear algebra operated, but the vocabulary is dense. There are so many crazy words that you have to know to understand linear algebra. So it was basically like I landed in a foreign country and everyone was speaking this language that I had never heard of before. Some of these are words that I know in English, like basis, span, norm, pivot, but they have a very specific meaning in linear algebra that was very hard to get down. And then some of them are completely insane. Isomorphism, hyperplane, LU decomposition, QR decomposition, orthogonalize, orthonormalize, orthonormalization, parallelepiped, Gaussian elimination, which sounds like something you would do, Jackson. Ugh. Smell that Gaussian elimination in here? Woo! And so then I'm going to... I'm sorry to interrupt this live stream. I have some Gaussian elimination I'm going to take care of. What do you do when you're learning a whole new language, when you're seeing a bunch of problems that you have no idea how to solve, and you know that you could stare at them for a while and try to make sense of them, but you also know you're going to have to come back later, and it's going to take a while to gel in your long-term memory? That brings us to our sponsor, Snapwise AI. Studying sucks. Let Snapwise AI do it for you. Snapwise AI is the easiest way to learn automatically when you're browsing the internet. It's like if Duolingo and Quizlet had a super hot cousin. Who wrote this? Oh, I did. Yeah, you see, whenever I'm learning, I often have these ideas for software that would really optimize what I'm trying to do. That's why I built Snapwise during this project. I would often come across something in the chat or in a video that was making some sense, but I knew I would have to review this later. Snapwise works right now in your Chrome browser. Every time you open a new tab, it'll show you one of these things that you're trying to learn, whether that's new words for a new language like Japanese, or in my case, a new language like linear algebra. Whatever it is, Snapwise AI can help you learn way more effectively. Right now, it's only private. I have it on my computer. That's the only one that exists. But if you go to snapwiseai.com and sign up for the wait list, I'm only looking to give this to about 20 people in this first limited run. So go there right now, sign up, and we'll be in touch. Let's get back to the video. So I knew, based on my 15 years of experience as an educator, assessments are the single best way to learn really efficiently. If you're not constantly testing yourself, you aren't aware of how much you're actually learning versus just sort of falling into the false fluency trap where you read stuff and nod along and go, "Ah, this makes sense." And then you see it on test day and you have to do the first step and you go, and nothing clicks. So I had a lot of tests, and those actually were very encouraging towards the beginning. I got a 90% on the first test, I got a B on the second test, and then came test 3. Oh boy, test 3. Test 3 was a 62%. 62%. I fully fell into the trap of false fluency when I was reading through how to do the Gram-Schmidt process and orthonormalization and least squares regression, and really thought that I kind of understood all these steps. But as soon as I got to the test, I knew, you know that feeling when you take a test that you flunked it, that I had no idea. And ultimately, it's important to highlight the struggles, because if you don't have struggles, you're not really learning at an optimal level. There's something, this sweet spot in learning education that we call desirable difficulty, where the maximum trajectory of learning occurs not when you're just in your comfort zone doing stuff that's sort of automatic, and not when you're completely confused, have no idea what's going on. It's sort of similar in a way to working out. If you have super light weights, you're not going to grow any muscle. But at the same time, if you put 500 pounds on the bench press and can't budget, that's not effective either. You want to get that sweet spot where it's the perfect weight to feel that burn, to feel your brain really expending energy. And that's how I knew I was learning, is I had struggles, I pushed through them, I knew I would have them. I mean, it was crazy to think I could learn linear algebra in 3 weeks just doing an hour per day without homework. Because struggling is a big process of learning, whatever you're learning. That was not eloquent at all. I do not like that. Redo. So let's fast forward to the end result. Did this work? Let's find out. Yeah. Well, kind of. The thing is, the final exam that MIT had, 3 hours long, was way, way harder than any of the tests that ChatGPT had given me. I struggled through a lot of the questions. I mean, I have some decent test-taking skills, so I was able to scramble and get partial credit. I ended up with a 62%. 62%. Which at first to me sounded awful. I wanted to get something in the 80s or 90s. But when I looked it up online, apparently a 62% on the linear algebra final at MIT is a passing grade, something maybe in the C+, even B- range. So this proves in only 30 days, yeah, I was able to learn linear algebra with only ChatGPT. But there were some caveats. I want to share some things that I learned and some things that I definitely would not do again next time, as well as what you probably are going to find most useful about this video, the most powerful prompts that really made the difference in my learning and allowed me to achieve this feat of learning linear algebra in only 30 days, no homework, 1 hour per day. Let's start wrapping this thing up. So first, the prompt that started it all here was with a feature on ChatGPT that I think most people, probably 90 to 95% of ChatGPT users, don't use or don't know it even exists. It's called deep research, and it's maybe my favorite feature on ChatGPT. It's what inspired me to actually do this whole project. What it does is it scours the whole internet. It'll pull from 20, 30 different sources maybe, and then will give you a really long, detailed response about anything that you want deep research on. It developed this amazing linear algebra curriculum that only took me 3 weeks to get through. It really budgeted it out nicely, an hour per day. But as I found out on the MIT exam, it did miss some crucial information I needed to know. So next time, what I'm going to do instead is not just rely on a single prompt one-shotting the whole curriculum. There's research I can do, cross-checking with other AI platforms to optimize getting the curriculum at the start. Because this is probably the most important thing when you're setting up a learning journey for yourself, is having a clear path that aligns with all the stuff that you want to know. If I had cross-checked this with Perplexity AI, had looked online at the MIT curriculum that's posted there, and looked at other sources like Grok, Gemini, Claude, other AI models, and put all that into deep research as context to begin with, it would have gotten a much better curriculum that would have been more comprehensive and covered exactly what I wanted to know. Some of the other greatest hits of the prompts that I kind of spontaneously came across here. One was asking it for the questions that a brilliant scientific mathematical mind, I said Richard Feynman or Albert Einstein as an example, would be asking here. This is one of the underrated things you can do with AI models, is not just ask them questions seeking answers, but ask them questions seeking questions. That was a really nice thought-provoking way to end a lot of the lessons, asking what questions should I be asking? What questions should I be inquiring about to make sure that this really clicks? And the way that an AI model responds to you is it weighs a bunch of different responses and then picks which ones it thinks are most likely to be what you're looking for. And using this, I would sometimes ask it if I were really stuck on a concept that just wasn't making sense with their explanations. I'd say, think of 5 to 7 different explanations, and then give me the 1 to 2 of them that you think are most likely to connect with me. It makes the AI think a little bit harder and reconsider what it's about to spit out the first time, so that it maybe gets to the 4th or 5th or 6th solution that it would have suggested and realize, that's the one that will probably make this click, that will solve this issue. The next thing I'll say about prompting is something kind of basic, but also that needs to be stated. Always ask why. Why? The AI models are not at a point right now where they'll just spoon feed you the information that you need to connect all the dots. You need to ask them, why this? So one of the best answers I got was asking, why matrices? Matrices are one of the fundamental things in linear algebra, but I felt like they were kind of arbitrary. Telling ChatGPT you feel like this is a little arbitrary, you want to know why it matters, why it exists. It gave me some really good stuff that started to make this whole cohesive quilt of knowledge. And from the perspective of learning science and memory science, asking why is the only way that you're going to actually consolidate stuff into your long-term memory. If you're trying to just hold disparate, disconnected pieces of information, there's no network that you can use to navigate them when you need that information later. Asking why is able to connect things that you're learning, new information, to existing nodes of memory that are already there. And that's the only way that you can really consolidate this and make sure that you're not just memorizing stuff the night before the test, but committing this to long-term knowledge. Next time I will say also I need to look at the nature of what I'm learning. Linear algebra is actually quite visual, and with just a chatbot that gives me a bunch of text, I wasn't able to capture all that. This is why watching the 3 Blue 1 Brown videos to get some basic background information was really helpful. But what I learned above all else in this was how inspiring it was to go and post this publicly, to see people from all over the world chiming in, to see you guys sharing your thoughts. I want to keep doing this. It was really inspiring learning with you guys. And so, let me talk about what's next. This all was ultimately just a proof of concept. I wanted to prove if I could learn linear algebra using nothing but AI, I could probably learn just about anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try another notoriously difficult college course. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself with these things, but it'll be a nice challenge to learn organic chemistry. This is the class that every pre-med has to take in order to prove that they're actually able to be a doctor and go to med school. And I think it'll be a lot better in the next iteration. I've learned a lot here and I'm excited to see how it goes. So let's go ahead and learn organic chemistry, and then let's go venture beyond that. Let's go into the mysteries of the universe, theoretical physics, electrical engineering, a lot of really highly technical things that I would love to know about, but know very, very little about right now. If you're still watching the video at this point, thank you. That's amazing. And I really appreciate all the people who've been tuning in. I really hope you spend a second, subscribe to my channel. That's very encouraging for me, very inspiring to keep making this sort of content about how you can elevate your learning superpowers with AI, achieve whatever you want to do. And like this video, let's go for 100 likes on this one. That'd be incredible. So you guys, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for checking this out, and I will see you in the next one. Stay learning. Peace.